when these athletes go to these colleges, they boast on education. We're giving you a free education, and which is pretty much indoctrinating them into how they could do the bidding in Esau's corporation. Because that's what our people do when they go into these colleges. They get indoctrinated on how they could do Esau's bidding and his corporations when he get out. That's why 2 Maccabees chapter 4 and 15 said they love the glory of the Grecians best of all. A lot of these athletes, when they go to college, they'll get branded by one of these Greek fraternal organizations so that they have an advantage when they get out. It said that in 2 Maccabees 4 and 15. They love the glory of the Grecians best of all, because they understand that when I get out, I'm gonna need some type of advantage. This is why on the job applications, they ask you, are you a part of any organizations? Because it will give you an advantage here within Esau's corporations. The black boule, of course the so-called white man runs it, but he'll put these, so-called blacks in his corporations as figureheads. Look at Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States. She pledged in one of these Greek sororities. Why? If you look at any of these athletes that are renowned, both quarterbacks in today's Super Bowl, they've been initiated into fraternities. A lot of the announcers and the sports analysts, a lot of them, they're Greek. Why? This is why the scripture said they love the glory of the Grecians best of all. Right, let me bring that out real quick in 2 Maccabees. Right, 2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 15. Because through these Greek fraternal orders, this is how Esau maintains control. He knows that he can't go amongst so-called blacks and control it. But he will put his agents, his figureheads, to speak on his behalf, to do his bidding. Right, 2 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 15, and it reads, 2 Maccabees chapter 4 verse 15, and it reads, not setting by the honor of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. Not liking the honor of their fathers, that's our people that wanted to start the Negro leagues, right? At one point we had our own leagues where our best and our brightest would take their talents to do what? Serve on a platform where Jake was running. But what happened with the Negro League? Our people were poor. Our people were broke. So that's when Amalek comes in. When our people are broke, when our people are indigent and they don't have money, that's when the so-called Jews come in. It's the wallet. They will actually give the players contracts. They'll set up the infrastructure, just like during the slave trade. And hey, guess what? You don't have to do anything but bring your talent, and they will exploit your talent. Just like with the NFL today. Our best and our brightest, they love the glory of the Grecians best of all. Deion Sanders, he was talking about all of our best and our brightest and our most talented athletes going to take their talents to an HBC, a historically black college or university. Even though the Jews run that in their curriculum and the whole 9 yards, we're not going to get into that right now. But Deion, he couldn't even maintain the cause. He couldn't even stick to his integrity. He saw that these colleges are broke, they're dilapidated, the books are outdated, the funding is not there. So what did he do? He took his talents, his skills, and his abilities to Colorado and took a lot of students with him. Why? Because, hey, we're robbed, we're spoiled. When our people try to stand on integrity, they got to realize that, hey, you'll maintain your integrity, but you won't be able to have the fame, the wealth. You won't be able to have the prestige that you would by joining into your enemy's system. Because that's what the NFL is, right? Our enemies set up an infrastructure wherein they can exploit the talent, skills, and abilities of so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? They go to the NFL, and then they cannot even take that money. They can't take that position and hand it down to their children as an inheritance, right? A lot of those players that are coaches, once they get fired or they retire, they can't pass that coaching job down to their child. You know, a lot of these leagues, as far as the franchises, hey, Jake, you're the beast of burden, but guess what? You won't be able to guarantee that your child will be able to have a slot on that team or in that front office. Why? Because you are being exploited. Like it says in Isaiah 4:22. You're being robbed. You're being spoiled. You're a beast of burden that's used to enrich another nation. Right? Your son's talent, skills, abilities, and his wealth are being robbed from him. Just like in the movie Life. You know, these colleges are used as farming systems. You know, these scouts from the NBA, the MLB, and the NFL, they can just go to any one of these colleges and they can look at the best and the brightest talent and they could get them to go and serve them once they get out of college, right? But a lot of people, when you're looking at the Super Bowl, you're not looking at that as exploitation. You're not looking at that as, damn, we could have our own enterprises. We can have our own corporation. We can have our own sports, media, conglomerates, and networks. Why do our people not look at it as though they're being exploited? Why do our people not look at it as though they're being robbed? You know, why do our people not look at it as what it is, which is usury, right? The Bible calls it out. Let me bring this out in the book of Jeremiah 2 and verse 14. It said, is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? You know, our people don't have anything to compare their experience within the interiors of America to. They've been slaves in America from the time they were little. They were in Pee-wee football. Then they went from Pee-wee football to Pop Warner. Then they went from Pop Warner to freshman. From freshman to JV. JV to starting five on varsity. Then from starting five on varsity, you get a recruitment letter in the mail where some coach is trying to influence you to come to his school to continue to get used. But at that point, you're making them millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Your name, your likeness, you know, it said, is Israel a homeborn slave? You know, and for the most part, our people are homeborn slaves. Our people will be used, abused, taken advantage of by the nations round about, and they never even considered. Damn, is it supposed to be like this? Right, it said that in Isaiah 1 and 3. Even the ox and the ass, they'll be like, hold on. They'll start taking things into consideration. Here it is. I'm blowing my knee out. I'm trying to take this man's head off. And all they giving me is a dorm room. They boasting they getting the best food. Of course. Look at all the money y'all bringing in. Y'all better feed your slaves. Food, clothes, and shelter. Because even during slavery, what would happen? You would go out. You would work from can't see morning to can't see night. But the master, he would provide you shelter in some little shack. He will provide you clothes in the form of rags. And he will give you food, the straps of the worst food or whatever. Right? And guess what? You didn't have to pay any bills. You know, that's just like the scholarship. You don't have to pay for anything, tuition free. But they're using you. And when you go to these colleges, once the football season starts, from conditioning to the games, I don't see how a lot of them are able to focus on their schoolwork because the standards are so high at some of these universities. You know, the conditioning is so rigorous. It takes so much dedication and effort and focus that I don't see how you can focus on your scholastic responsibilities. And this is why even in high school, the teachers would allow the athletes, the jocks, to just matriculate through class because they understood to be a student athlete is a job wherein you really have to focus on achieving the results for the athletic programs, because that's bringing into school most of their money. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 32. It says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given to another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. You know, and it said here, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given to another people. That's what you see when you watch the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. You see our people, children, talent, skills, abilities, and most of all their wealth being exploited, being robbed, being used by another people. And it's no might in our hands. You even have parents that actually give their children to these universities. You know, Jerry Sandusky style. You remember at Penn State, you had actual parents that were actually sacrificing their children up to Penn State so that these sexual deviants can use their children however they want to, right? But for wealth, for fame, for status, Jay could do the same thing. Their son, he has talents, he has skills, he has abilities. They will pretty much allow an institution to treat their son however, talk to him however. We see how these coaches treat these so-called student athletes. And it's all in hopes that their son can actually be drafted into one of these major league, national league sports franchises. You know, people don't mind that their children are involved in sport. When they go to these sporting events, they look at the talent down on the court, down on the field. And guess what? They don't take into consideration that this is our best and our brightest. We can be using their talents to fortify our economy, which the Most High told us not to do. Right? Micah 2:10, arise and depart, for this is not our rest. But this is why the Most High allows our people to be used, because they try to find rest by joining into the so-called white and his different enterprises. Right? Let me bring this out in the book of Proverbs 11 and 21. Because all of the so-called white man's different platforms, his different infrastructures, right? His different sports, media, conglomerates, and networks, they're gonna go out of style just like he's going out of style. They're gonna come to naught just like all of these nations' corporations. All of the different departments and the faculties that keep Babylon going are gonna come to pass. This is Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 21, and it reads, though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. Right? Though hand join in hand. Even though you want to join into the so-called white man's corporation, you want to join into his Major League Baseball, you want to join into his National Football League, you want to represent him in his Olympics. Though hand join in hand. Even though you see the so-called white man is not that bad, you're able to comb over and look over 500 years of the worst treatment, the worst atrocities, the most usury and robbery that we've ever experienced. You can look over that and say, I'm gonna live in the now. This is a post-racial society. The white man is not my enemy, but better yet, he's my coach. You lock arms with him on the sideline and say, these are my brothers. You pledge to their flag, right? Proverbs 11 and 21 says, though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. Homeborn slaves, right? Like it said in Jeremiah 2 and 33. Israel is a homeborn slave. So you cannot compare this captivity to anything else to see how far and low we've come. You can't compare yourself to your other captivity where you had the knowledge of Yahweh while Yahweh Shai, where we still had a level of unity and solidarity. It's like during the days of segregation. When we were segregated, that was our golden age. That's when you had the Negro Leagues, right? That's when you had our own infrastructures, the Black Wall Streets and such. But once we integrated and we joined hand with our enemy, that's when the Negro Leagues were actually wiped out. You know, Jackie Robinson, he was in the Negro Leagues, and what did the white man do? He took one of our most talented men and he actually influenced and attracted him to go and do the bidding for the so-called white man's Major League Baseball at a time when, hey, those Negroes in the Negro League couldn't pay him a salary that was comparable. Even though he was talented, we couldn't leverage his talents on our own platform, right? And the same thing happens in college. The same thing happens in college. So when I look at the Super Bowl, which a lot of our people are observing today, they should look at it with shame, knowing that, hey, this is a day when these corporations are gonna make millions, probably billions, not only off the wings, not only off the beer, not only off the clothes, not only off the apparel and merchandise, but off of the advertising that these networks pay these colleges, Major League, National Football, National Basketball, these different societies and corporations. They wouldn't be nothing without Jay. If you look at a lot of these arenas, right, you got 90% Edomites in the crowd. But if you look on the court, who's the beast of burden? Who's being used? Who's being robbed? Who's being exploited? Then you'll realize that, hey, you should look at these different sporting events with a spirit of sorrow, not a spirit of mirth. This represents us being conquered, us being dominated, us being taken advantage of. You know, like it says in Isaiah 42:22, robbed and spoiled, right? So that's what we want, the elect. We want this system to just go ahead and fall by the wayside. It wasn't set up to benefit us, but it's only set up to exploit us, to use us, you know? And that's, it said, love works no ill to his neighbor. Usury, that's not what Israelites do to one another. You know, even if a man like Bob Johnson, even if he was to have the means to create and establish a sports club on this side, guess what? Even from the perspective of being a sports club owner, this is not our time. Israelites, this is not our time to join into the so-called white man's corporation, or even to follow that model and follow that template. We were brought low to be corrected and measured, like it says in the book of Baruch chapter 4, right? We weren't brought low to establish a socio-economic base here in the land of our captivity, right? Let me bring this out in Matthew 24:14. But rather, the whole duty of every Israelite man and woman, like I brought out in Ecclesiastes 12:13, fear God, keep his commandments. Hold fast to the prophecies that are in this book. Hold fast to your faith. Until the Most High sets us as a praise of the earth again. Right? This is Matthew 24:14. It said, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world as a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Right? As pursuant to Deuteronomy 28:64, the Lord's people are scattered in every nation, speaking every tongue. Therefore the Lord is that merciful. And it's not to cast us off and forget about us, but it said that this gospel, 2 Corinthians 4:3, said that this gospel is hid, it is hid to them that are lost. 2/3 of our people, they will not resonate with the words of the Bible, right? But that 1/3 in that great multitude, this is why we come out. And Lord willing, we are in that number, because this gospel shall be preached throughout all the earth. That good news that you're an Israelite. Salvation is for you. You are not going to be a perpetual slave. It says that this gospel shall be preached throughout all the earth, and then the end will come. Right? The end will not come until some they're going to be marked for life, some be marked for death. But you're going to hear the good news, right? That you are an Israelite, and salvation is for you, right? This is Isaiah chapter 62 and verse 6, and I'm going to end with Isaiah 62 and 6, right? This is Isaiah. This is Isaiah chapter 62 and verse 6, and it reads, I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall not hold their peace day or night. Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence, and give him no rest until he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Right? Like it says in Ezekiel 3:17, the Most High sets watchmen. Not only are we watching, but we're praying. It says the same thing in second Esdras, the 9th chapter. Measure the time diligently. That's what we're doing. And we're filtering the things that are happening in socially, geopolitics, economics. You know, we're filtering them through the scriptures and letting our people know that, hey, it's high time to wake up out of sleep, like it says in Romans 13:11. Because our salvation is nearer than we believe. You know, we're almost out of here. Most High hasn't forgot about us. And if you look at the prophecies that are rolling out in the earth, we are in the 11th hours. You know, even on the left-hand side, they have a doomsday clock where they said, hey, this is the closest that we've been to midnight, you know, in a very long time. Hey, so the Most High, he's that merciful. Before he destroys the place, he said that this gospel shall be preached, and then the end will come. Why? Because the Lord's people are scattered in every land, speaking every tongue. Therefore, that sifting is happening in every land, as pursuant to Amos 9:9. Hey, we're almost out of here, you brothers. Hold on to the faith, continue the good works, praying, repenting, fasting, making your bodies a living sacrifice. We're almost out of here. I'd like to end by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that do teach and rule well. Many blessings to the elect. You brothers keep up the good work. Until next week, Shalom.